We have Dr. Amal Banerjee on my right. On my left is Dr. Amal Banerjee, is past president of CSI. He is also the past president of API. And then to my left is the General Secretary of CSI, Dr. M.K. Das, and Dr. Shiv Kumar, who is going to be the chairman of NIC. They are all sitting here. Amal, I really wanted to ask you is that hypertension is a real problem. Whether it's our clinical practice or we see the epidemiological data, we find hypertension is really challenging for us. You as a clinician, when you come across so many patients of hypertension and they are so-called primary hypertension, what is your approach you like to recommend from the point of view of non-pharmacological? How you will counsel this patient, what they should do and what they should not do? What is your message for the audience that how we can control hypertension in a non-pharmacological way? Dr. Amal.
My friends, when I come across a patient with hypertension, first issue is to properly check his blood pressure. I record his blood pressure twice 5 minutes apart after he takes rest for more than 5 minutes. This is an important issue, and the position, the patient should be in the sitting position with to which arm I am recording the BP should be on the table, and the patient should be properly and comfortably be seated. Then after, when I detect the patient is having hypertension, then I discuss with the patients regarding his lifestyles and all these things. Then I go for just to convince him that what are the ill effects of the hypertension with the patient. After convincing all these things, I first go for, if his systolic blood pressure is less than 160 millimeter of mercury, I usually resort to non-pharmacologic measures, just like the reduction of salt. Of course, the free salt, it should be restricted up to 4 gram, and also then we resort to other measures like regular exercise, reduction of weight, and all these things. I also try to check other risk factors regarding his blood pressure and lipid level. Then I try to convince him that his or her blood pressure is being reduced in the next 3 months with non-pharmacologic measures, then it will okay. But if not controlled, then we will have to go for the pharmacologic management.
Amal, I think it's very important. We see a lot of obese patients these days in the age group of 40 to 60, and most of them have central obesity. It's more common in northern India as compared to the southern part of India. But metabolic syndrome or so-called obesity syndrome is a real cluster of hypertension and diabetes and dyslipidemia. If you see hypertension and obesity, do you think that the non-pharmacological treatment is a little different in obese as compared to non-obese?
In fact, you know that those patients who are obese, they require some rigorous lifestyle changes regarding their food habit and more exercise. And these are the very important things: diet, exercise, all these things. They should be a bit different for the non-obese hypertensive.
I think it's very important, like Kamal has mentioned very clearly, that salt consumption has to be reduced to 4 to 4.5 grams. If you really want to reduce blood pressure, optimize it to a normal level, consumption of salt has to be curtailed. We cannot be a victim of eating the wrong food at the wrong time, at the wrong place, in the wrong dose, in the wrong environment, consuming a lot of samosas and pakoras and soya sauce or tomato sauce or potato wafers and whatnot. Salt reduction is the need of the hour, very nicely expressed by Dr. Amal Banerjee. And second thing what he mentioned is, obesity is a very, very important reason. We have to curb obesity. Curbing obesity is curbing hypertension. He is very categorical. He said, reducing weight. If you reduce the weight, you can have a significant reduction of blood pressure. It's a very important. The reason is, all the obese individual has a hyper-renin-angiotensin aldosterone activation, and there is a hypersympathetic activation. So we have to reduce weight. We have to cut down the salt so that this activation is reduced. We pacify this activation. and the blood pressure can be reduced to a very large extent only by non-pharmacology method. I have with me Dr. M.K. Das, who did a lot of work on anti-smoking and smoking campaign. I'll ask him what is the relationship of smoking with the hypertension, number one, and number two, Dr. Das, you are welcome to the studio. I'd like to have your opinion on the drug of choice. How do you choose a drug? Do you believe in a single drug or a fixed dose combination of drug in the low dose so that we can effectively control the blood pressure? 2 points we want to have your opinion in a very clear way so that the message goes to the masses.
So for the smoking is concerned, it is a bio-behavioral problem. So it should be tackled in the way any bio-behavioral disease is controlled. So there will have to be interaction not only between the physician and the patients or the smokers. You'll have to have the support of various other agencies or stakeholders, we call it, like the media, then community service providers, nurses, then health service providers, and also the persons who are related with the delivery of the health care. So this is a problem which will have to be tackled at many fronts. But if we are to really progress with the anti-smoking campaign, then possibly we are to disincentivize our system of smoking, because smoking does what? Smoking actually gives a pleasure of due to the fact that the dopamine is secreted after the smoking. Now, if that does not give rise to dopamine secretion by some measures in the form of the deep breathing exercise, then yogic meditation, then certain drugs and pharmacological devices like electronic cigarettes, if this does not give the incentive to have the good sort of feeling, then possibly the person will be smoking less. But more important than this is the follow-up of the patients or the smokers. I call them patients because they really cause severe diseases like hypertension, as Dr. Chopra was trying to correlate between the smoking and hypertension. So we'll have to give the explanation why smoking is very bad. Smoking is bad not only in terms of the various side effects like sore throat and bronchial asthma or airway disease, cancers and peptic ulcers and all. It can cause severe cardiac diseases like hypertension, like coronary artery disease, peripheral vascular disease. These are very, very important diseases and they kill the patients. Now, smoking causes actually the rise in the catecholamines in the system, and thereby they vasoconstrict, and that's how the hypertension is generated. So if the anti-smoking devices are taken up along with the anti-smoking biobehavioral therapies with the continuous follow-up, then definitely the smoking incidence can be reduced. Now, so far the hypertension part is concerned.
It's very important, Dr. Das. I think you mentioned cessation of smoking is the answer if you want to curtail the hypertension. And there are various gadgets which are again by psychotherapy or by optimization of the mindset of an individual. And of course, there are various drugs available to help us in cessation of smoking. Which are the drugs I think you recommend? Like you were speaking yesterday about buprenorphine and other drugs also. Are they really used practically, or they just for theoretical sake or for research data?
This is a very good question indeed, because most of us who are giving advices to our patients even do not know what is the brand name of the drugs available in India. But definitely buprenorphine is an antidepressant drug which is used for depressive illnesses, so that is available. And similarly, the drug that is inhibitor of the alpha-4 beta-2 receptors and acetylcholine antagonists, so they are that is available. The name I don't remember right now, as I told you, but this is available in India. And if they can be actually of use to some extent, especially in the Western counterparts where the cost is not very much a concern. They are using these drugs and they are getting good result. But in our country, actually the cost of the drug is prohibitive, especially the second drug, Winch Clean, or that is the name. So if that drug is to be used in a on general basis, then possibly we will not be able to reduce the smoking incidence. Reason is the very high cost of the treatment. So we'll have to again go back to the same concept, that is the biobehavioral therapy, or we are to prolong the cessation process by monitoring, and we ought to give certain measures for disincentivization, including the various governmental agencies that are responsible for taking health care. So they'll have to they will have to also respond in the right way by increasing the tax for tobacco generation, and also giving warning signals.
Dr. Das, I think you mentioned very nicely about the smoking and hypertension relationship. My only last question to you is, if a patient comes to you in your clinical setup, what will be your approach to give a single drug or a fixed dose combination? Which works better? If you take the data as well as your clinical data and its effect on the perfect control of blood pressure.
So far the fixed dose combination is concerned, it has been always found that the fixed dose combination gives few benefits. Number one, the cost becomes less. Number two, the patient becomes more compliant with the combination drug. And number three, you can actually follow up with the patients in a better way, because a single drug, you know that it can take care of the disease in a better way. So after saying that, some of the patients will respond to that fixed dose combination. Some of the patients will not respond. So
Dr.
in those,
I'll just like to interrupt you here. Logistically, if you see, hypertension is multifactorial. It's not a single factor. If a patient has got increased aldosterone and angiotensin activation and a sympathetic activation simultaneously, and there is endothelial dysfunction also, why not to give a fixed dose combination than just giving a diuretic? There is no meaning. Similarly, if we give a combination of beta blockers or ARB and ACE inhibitors in a low dose, we definitely reduce the pill load, the bill load, the memory load, and the non-compliance load. What's your opinion on this?
that's very much right. But you are to choose the combination of the drugs, whether you are going to add beta blocker to ARB or ARB to ACE inhibitor, or with the beta blocker with the aldosterone antagonist. So these combinations are really are to be sorted out. It's not yet final which combination will be better. But so far, the ARB combination with calcium channel blocker is a very good combination, and you can adjust and readjust the dose. So this combination, particularly the ARB and or ACEI with calcium channel blocker, actually can give all the benefits, that is in terms of reducing hypertension, endothelial dysfunction, and even they can be of help in the coronary artery disease.
Thank you very much, Dr. M.K. Das has given a very clear idea. He said we should not only control the hypertension, but we should give a drug which has got multiple benefits to take care of the comorbidity produced by the hypertension. It's a brilliant idea. An approach should be multi-pronged approach and not just only controlling hypertension. Thank you for your expression, Dr. M.K. Das. We have with us Dr. Shiv Kumar from Hyderabad, who is also the chairman of NIC now. Shiv, I think we heard that the National Health Survey on the hypertension of CSI went on to very big heights now. It is touching the world data. There is no such data produced in the world. We feel very proud as a member of CSI, and you being a very active promoter and active supporter and active contributor in this survey. We'd like to have your opinion, how you manage this, and what are your impressions about this CSI hypertension survey, which is a unique survey for the first time in the world, not in India.
Absolutely, I totally agree that on 21st of September we did this big BP survey countrywide, And I must congratulate all the chairman, the president of CSI, the whole organizing team of CSI, which has taken a fantastic initiation, because of this sort was never done in the world, where 1.8 lakh people were screened in a span of 9 hours. And I'm happy to share that basically, like in Hyderabad alone, we did about 20,000 checks in a single day. And as you said, as you asked rightly, the motivation for this came basically from the people. We went to the press about 5 days in advance, and the basically reason what we asked is that what I personally also felt all the time is, like, we know the what is an average rainfall of a city, we know what is an average temperature of the city, we know what is the average humidity of the city, but we don't know what is an average blood pressure of the city. So we went with a motto of saying that what is the Hyderabad's BP? Similarly, what is the Delhi's BP? What is the Calcutta's BP? What is the Chennai's BP? So if we know what is the blood pressure of the city, probably we can start doing the corrective measures in that. And as we know, all of us, we know that a slight reduction in the society of a systolic or the diastolic pressure will have a large impact on the society, and we can probably reduce and achieve much more benefits by reducing a small amount of them.
Dr. Shiv Kumar, I think I've got one more question for you. It's very important, since we touch the pinnacle of heights, so far as the hypertension evaluation is concerned. People talk of Guinness World Record. People talk of Limca's book record. Why should we follow Limca's book record and Guinness World Record? Why not we create a CSI World Record? Why not? World should see CSI and create a CSI World Record of hypertension for the first time. What's your view on it?
Absolutely. I think we have already created, it should be termed as a CSI World Record, because earlier to this, there's no records as such done. Probably the earlier figures are only 24,000 people being screened in a single day. So creating a history, we literally created a history of doing a 1.8 lakh people survey in a single day. It should be called as a CSI Book of Records.
Very nice, Shiv Kumar. I think I'm very impressed the way you mentioned we must have a CSI World Record. We should not bother about the Guinness World Record. People should come to us to compete with the CSI World Record for hypertension for the time being. Once we grow further, we'll go further. I think it's a very nice comment. We are very, very impressed by your beautiful expression, and I'm sure it is going to go in a long way, and we'll definitely work on it. Thank you very much, Dr. Amal Banerjee, Dr. M.K. Das, and Dr. Shiv Kumar.